Hello, thank you for joining me today.
No worries.
So you've agreed to give me some of your time to talk about your experiences in prison, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. And you'd like to remain anonymous?
Yep.
Okay, no problem. So that's why for the listeners, you'll be seeing some photos or pictures. Me and the interviewee have picked them ourselves just from the internet, but they're there to give you, well, A, protect the person's identity here with me, and B, just to give you an idea of what it really looks like in Victoria's jails. The interviewee has helped me select them, so they've got a pretty good idea of what it looks like on the inside. So yeah, they're all from the internet, and just want to thank you on behalf of all of the group for giving me the opportunity to interview.
That's all right.
Now, you know that this is going to be used for purposes of an assessment,
Yes.
which is going on an internet link.
Yep.
And you provide consent to do that?
Yeah.
Cool. And the other thing I just want to let you know, if there's anything that you don't want to answer or you're not comfortable in answering, there's absolutely no obligation. You're free to just say next or move along or maybe even no comment.
Yeah, no worries.
If that's what you'd like to say.
Yep.
All right, so now that's all out of the way. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm 29 now, and sometimes I forget how old I am.
Okay.
What sort of stuff would you like to know?
Just a little bit about yourself, whatever you'd like to share.
All right. So I guess when I was young, I had a lot of stuff going on. We had like family breakdown and stuff, and parents were on drugs. And when I was about 13, 14, I started rebelling, went through a bit of a rough patch, did some things that aren't probably very nice to people, and ended up going to jail. I went to youth detention first, and had like a couple of orders and stuff put on me, and frequently went to court and getting arrested all the time. Well, not all the time, but a lot. Sometimes a few times in a week. And yeah, so then went to jail when I was 18 and got out and ran amok a bit more, but then sort of settled down and stopped and sort of, yeah, stopped getting in trouble and started doing good stuff.
Okay, so what's your life look like now?
Well, I'm manager of a small business, got a couple of employees under me. Me and my partner own, well, the bank does, but we own a couple of houses. Get paid all right, I guess, not like insane, but reasonably well, and work hard, and yeah, life's pretty good.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So you said you were about 14 when you started to rebel.
Yeah, 13 or 14.
Yep. So what exactly were you doing?
Just probably like started, I don't know, not listening in school and thinking I was funny and picking on teachers and stuff, and then sort of started smoking, getting in trouble. I'd been in trouble in primary school, but like not all the time. I was usually pretty good. I was always smart, but I'd play up a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
Think I was funnier than I was.
And this is in high school?
Yeah, but yeah, high school, yeah. And then, subsequently got kicked out of one school, went to another for a while, but I got kicked out of home in between as well. So after I got kicked out of the first school, like that was in year 9, so at the end of year 9 I got kicked out. And over that summer I rebelled at home more and got kicked out of home. And I think I'd sort of ran away or been kicked out before that as well in year 9, so I didn't live at home for a month or something, then went back, and then yeah, left again. Yeah.
Okay. So how old were you when you first started to commit crime? You said you were
First
rebelling a little
time
bit.
I ever committed a crime.
Yeah. Do you remember?
Yeah, I was 7 and I stole from a shop around the corner, and we lived in a small town.
Yep.
Like there's only about 2,000 people in the town and one shop and one pub. And I stole some bubble gum, and I got caught because I told my friend about it, thinking I was really cool, and she told my mum, who then I got in trouble and I had to take the bubble gum back to the shop owners and apologise. So it was the first time I committed a crime.
And that was obviously obviously the first time you got caught for committing a crime as well.
Yeah, I didn't learn easily.
First crime you committed.
Mm.
What about the first crime you ever got charged with? How old were you then?
I think I was 14, and I'd made friends with this other young guy, and we stole a car. And yeah, we'd been trying to steal a car all night. We tried like 200 cars or something, and eventually got one. And then we got in a police chase, but I think a security car chased us first. And in that, the car broke and wouldn't get out of first gear. So I was in a low speed police chase at about 30 Ks, and it was really loud. And then we stopped, and he had his girlfriend with us. And we jumped out of the car, and I ran. And I'd never driven an automatic before that, just a manual. So I thought it'd just stop. But then the car kept going, and I nearly got hit by the car. So I nearly got run over, then I stopped, and the car hit a pole. And then I hid in some bushes laying down. I remember like the police were walking past me, and that it was pretty full on. But I didn't get caught, and then I got away and like ran about 3 Ks. And then I was walking back to where I was staying, which was at a friend's parents' house, and the sun was starting to come up, and the police were sitting in a driveway, and I just walked right in front of the cop car, and they just jumped out and said, "What are you doing? Like, stop!" And that, and I had some looks that was pretty distinctive at the time, so I couldn't really say it wasn't me. Yeah, then I got arrested and charged, and mum come down, and yeah, all that.
So you said that was about when you were 14?
I think I was 14, maybe I was just 15. No, it wouldn't have been because it was still summer, so yeah, it would have been 14.
So is that the offence that you went to juvenile detention for?
No, that was a few years later.
Okay, so you started off committing crime when you were 14?
Yeah.
Oh, well, when you were 7, and then again when you were 14?
Yeah.
And then how old were you when you went to juvenile detention? Or ballpark?
I think I just turned 18. Like, it would have been just after my 18th birthday, but I committed the crimes when I was 17.
Okay, yep. So when you say juvenile detention, are you talking about Parkville?
Yes.
Okay, yep. And how long did you do there?
40 days.
And did you just go there once?
Yep. Yeah, next time I got in trouble, I was too old to go there.
Yep. So you said before that, you mentioned that your parents were on drugs and there was a relationship breakdown. So do you believe that those things led or contributed to you committing crimes? Do you think they influenced it at all, or?
Looking back, probably, but not directly.
So, in your opinion, or what you think now, what do you believe led you to go down that pathway in the first place?
What led me to go down there?
Yeah.
Like, how did I end up there?
Yeah.
Well, like, I was out of home, like out at 15, and I was homeless for a couple of years and jumping around, like living with people and sleeping at strange places, just wherever like I could find shelter sometimes, because I was a bit proud to say that I didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
And then that sort of went on, and with that whole thing, like, come with drugs as well, and drinking a lot, and
So you started using drugs at a young age?
yeah, about 15, I think.
Yeah. So you were homeless, you had nowhere to go, you were using drugs, you weren't in school?
I was for a little while. I was homeless and in school for about 6 months. Or 4 months.
Achievement?
Yeah. And then I stopped going to school because, like, I stopped going, but I'd just go, like, whenever I felt like it, or whenever, I could.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like, I went there. They wouldn't let me go to school camp. So I went there to go get the money I'd paid for school camp back. And I was pretty drunk. And they asked me if I was going to be attending school that day. And I said, well, no, I'm not coming today. And I want my money. And then they're like, well, if you're not coming to school, you've got to leave. I'm like, well, you just have to give me a refund for my school fees. And they agreed to that. So then I unenrolled and got a half refund on the school fees.
So you were still a early school leaver?
Yep.
Yep. And do you think that impacted heading towards crime? Or you were already
Yeah.
better at crime by then?
Oh, by then I was doing some crime because, like, I didn't have enough money. Like, I wasn't very good with money. I'd spend it all, and then I'd need food, so I'd go and just steal food.
So you're saying one of your motivations for your offending was probably need for money for food?
Yeah.
What about drugs?
Well, that's where your money would go in the first place.
So your money would go on drugs, and then you'd need more money for food and more drugs?
Yeah. Probably not more drugs as much back then, like when I was younger, because like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really steal and sell it to get drugs. Most of that stuff was stealing to eat.
So it was more of a survival.
Yeah, but then later on, I'd steal to get money. Like I'd go and rob cars and houses and sheds and whatever.
Well, what about when you stole the car with your friend?
No, that wasn't for money. We were just stealing a car.
What for?
Well, I'd never stolen a car before, and he had, and he's like, it's fun. So we went and did it.
So your motivation was a bit of excitement?
Yeah.
Yep. So really, there's been a lot of different things that could have led up to that.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So as an adult, so then you've offended when you're 7, but you know that's neither here nor there really. And then you've not what it is, but you know, in terms of prison, because all you have to do is take the bubble gum back.
Yeah.
And then when you're 14, you've stolen a car or something and done whatever and gotten in trouble there.
Yep.
And then later down the track, you've gone into Parkville detention.
Yep.
And what was the nature of your offending at Parkville?
To get there.
Yes. What led you to get to Parkville?
So I'd had a heap of like charges for different stuff before that, and been put on like a youth corrections order. I think I got 2 of them, and I was working with them, and then that finished, and then I think the weekend that finished, like after it finished, I don't know, we're all drinking and on drugs and stuff, and we're doing something near a payphone, and someone walked past, and for some reason I thought it'd be good to take his money.
Yeah.
And turned out he didn't have any money. Like, got him to empty his pockets and lift up his pants and everything. And I had a trolley pole, and I got charged with attempted armed robbery.
Okay, so that's classed as a pretty serious offence.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, reasonably serious.
So you're in Parkville for a reasonably serious offence. What happened after you got out of
Parkville? What do you mean?
Well, what did life look like for you then? Did you come out and were you, back into the same friendship groups doing the same things, or were you?
Yeah, and I probably thought I was a bit tough as well after that too. Like, I'd put on a bit of weight, so I put on like 16 kilos, and I was pretty skinny before that.
So you continued with crime?
Yep. Okay. I went and worked as well. So I got a job doing truck removals of houses. So I was working, and probably then the crime started turning more towards violence as well, rather than stealing things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any insight or idea as to what the reason there was for the change in the types of crime?
Well, I think the change was, I had money, enough money to do what most of the time, enough money. I'd drink a lot and smoke a lot of bongs.
And obviously had money for food.
And had money for food, and also I was living with my friend, and there was always food at the house and that. But I'd still steal money out of, I'd pretty much wherever I'd walk, and it was night time, I'd steal money out of cars and whatever else I could find. But then, I don't know, I was sort of just angry and just at the world. I didn't really know why exactly. I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder, and I started thinking I was tough and had something to prove, and got in a few fights, and someone did something to someone, and I ended up stabbing them.
Okay, and so you went to jail for that offence?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. What was your sentence for that?
I got 5 years with 2.5 non-parole period.
So can you just explain to the listeners what that means?
So that means you get a 5-year sentence, but you have a minimum time in jail of 2.5 years. At that 2.5 years, you are eligible for parole. If you get parole, then you're on an order for the next 2.5 years. But if you breach that corrections order part of it, then you go back to jail, and the 2.5 years starts again.
Okay.
Like the second 2.5 years, not like you've already done 2.5 years, so you got a maximum time in jail of 5 years. But say you did 2.5 years, got out for a year, breached it, did another year, you'd still have 18 months left on parole when you got out again.
Yep, so it sort of restarts all over again.
Yeah, restarts where you were when you got out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, that's a decent amount of time, 2.5 years in prison.
Yeah, it was a while.
And then 2.5 years to serve in the community.
Yep.
5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, what prisons have you been to in Victoria?
So I've been to the MAP, the MRC, Port Phillip, Fulham, Margate, Darringale, and Barwon. Yep.
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And just from what I know, in my research and whatever, so you're saying you've been to Barwon, which is Victoria's maximum prison,
Yep.
maximum security prison.
Yeah.
And you've also been to Darringale, which I believe is a low security farm kind of prison.
Yeah, well, I actually went from Darringale to Barwon.
Okay. You've had a pretty broad range of experiences.
Yeah.
Within the system. Was there any prisons that you preferred to be at?
Probably Barwon was the best one.
So you actually preferred to be at the maximum security prison?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's all straightforward and you know where you stand. Everything's sort of black and white, and the days are a bit shorter. So you got 8 hours in, out of your cell, and then 16 hours in. So the days sort of go quick, and work was cruisy. And you could sort of just do what you want and not get hassled.
And so when you say, do what you want and not get hassled, does that mean in other prisons you did get hassled?
Yeah, they want you to fucking do shit all the time and talk like this. The officers want to talk to you about stuff or something, and bloody, I don't know, stupid things. And you just sort of like, they always, I don't know, like the rules aren't clear sometimes.
So there's a lot of grey areas?
Yeah, it can be.
Whereas at Barwon it's straight down the line. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and you sort of got like a bit of respect as well. Like they don't treat you like an idiot.
This is the guards?
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting you've actually brought that up. Just so the listeners know, the person being interviewed here hasn't actually seen our presentation on WordPress as such. We've actually shared a link to a YouTube film, and it's of Barwon, one of the Barwon officers or something are going through it, and they're actually talking about what you're talking about now. That there's actually a decent relationship between the prisoners and the guards at Barwon. I was actually going to ask you if you found that to be the case.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it like a relationship. It's just sort of like
I'll just clarify there. The guard was saying professional relationships.
Yeah, like I don't know. They just sort of like they don't really like. It's not like they want to get to know you or anything, but they don't like talk down to you. And I guess probably because more serious people are there, and like people will just turn around and hit them, then there's more professionalism, I guess, if that's what you want to call it.
So when you say like they don't talk down to you, does that happen at other prisons?
Not directly, but they sort of like try and string you along. Like at Darringale, one of them asked me to make him a coffee, and I turned around and told him to get fucked. And like I was sitting there in like you do these reviews and assessments, and they're just asking me all these questions. It's like it's none of your business. Like they're asking me all these questions about my family and that, and it's like, what do I need to tell you that for? It's not your concern. What does it have to do with you? And to top that, like when that was happening, I also had some drugs beforehand, and I felt like spewing.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that. Continue. Sorry.
And and he just kept talking. I ended up going, look, I don't care about this. This is a waste of my time. I'm already here wasting time. I don't need to waste it with you.
So you don't think the guard was just trying to get to know a bit of your situation, or?
Yeah, but probably. But what's it got to do with him? He's there to lock me in and make sure I don't escape and don't hurt anyone. It's not his job to try and help me.
I don't know. I'm just wondering if you did it to try and get to know how to work with you better. But
well, it's easy to work with me. I'm just there to do what I do or go to work. And
do they have like clinicians and stuff at Darringale?
I don't know. I wasn't there very long. I was only there 2 or 3 weeks.
And why was that?
Because I ended up getting kicked out. Because everyone, it was weird. Like, it's like some people can get away with things and other people can't. It's like a heap of people that go to work and then leave and go and do their own thing. So I just thought, well, everyone else can do it, so can I.
Yeah.
So I went to work and then like did a bit, and then like I'd finished my bits. And I'm like, oh, I'll go to the gym. I went to the gym, and then they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm at the gym. And they're like, well, you can't just leave work. And I'm not going to like dob on the other people. So I'm just like, well, yeah, I fucking can. What's stopping me? And then had a bit of a disagreement, and they like carried on a bit, and they're like, oh, we'll take your tally. So I just emptied everything that wasn't mine out of my cell and sat it out the front and said, fucking take it. And then they're like, oh, well, we don't know what to do with you. So then I just went back to the gym, And then they called my name over, and I'm like, fuck them, I'm not going. And then about half an hour later, they come and got me in. I went and seen them, and then they're like, oh, yeah, you're not working here. You're not working out here. You don't fit in or whatever. I'm like, oh, I don't give a fuck. I don't really want to fit in. And then they like tried to scare me. They're like, where do you want to go? And I like go, oh, well, Fulham, because I had some friends at Fulham then. And then they're like, well, how's Barwon sound? Like trying to scare me or something, thinking I was a bloody 12-year-old kid. I'm like, sounds all right, let's go. So then I just went to the slot for a week and went to Barwon after that. I went to Port Phillip first and then went to Barwon.
And you preferred it at Barwon?
Yeah, it was heaps better. And at the interview thing there, they do the review and assessment. They read out what like the Darringale people wrote about me, and they're like he's unrehabilitatable, this and that, and no prospects for anything, bad attitude. And the screws at Barwon are just like, well, we haven't seen anything like that here. And I'm like, no, the people at Darringale are fuckheads. They wanted me to make them a coffee, and then they laughed. And they're like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, oh, well, I just want to go and like do the welding, and I'll do the welding course and whatever. And they're like, yeah, sounds good. Like, you're not going to be in trouble. I'm like, no, just as long as I can just sort of plod along and not get hassled. And everything was good there. And did my thing, and they had a pool, like a very, very small pool, but I could swim.
So how do you get from going from, say, having, I don't know, a rating of needing to go to Barwon, a high security rating, down to a low one?
So you mean like going from a low security rating to a high security rating, like from Darringale to Barwon?
Well, you kind of explained that happened for you. I meant the other way.
Oh, the other way. Oh, right. So
having a really high security. Oh, hang on. Before I ask that, I'm guessing for you to be in Barwon in the first place, you must have had a high security rating.
No, I was only a B rating.
So why were you in Barwon in the first place?
I don't know. That's just where they sent me.
Because you said you were there first, didn't you? And then you went to Darringale.
No, I was at Darringale, and then I went to Barwon. I was at Margate before Darringale.
Oh, okay. So that was the first time you'd been to Barwon?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Right. So when you went in there and was assessed with a B rating, what did that mean for you?
I don't really understand the question.
So what does B rating mean?
Medium security.
Yep. And what does that then mean?
That you can go to a medium security jail or maximum security.
Yep. Okay. So what else does that mean? The security rating mean for you as a prisoner?
Not much.
Just depends. That's just to say what jail you're going to go to?
Yeah.
Yep. So when you first got to prison, well, first of all, I don't think I've actually asked you, how old were you?
18.
Okay. So that's a little bit unusual for Victoria's justice system.
Yeah, but I was remanded.
Can you explain to our
So I wasn't sentenced yet, but I was a risk to the community apparently. So they put you in jail because they reckon you're guilty.
So usually, just for our audience, young offenders between 18 and 20...
Oh, 21.
21?
There's another one, but yeah, so they're usually between 18 and 21. If you get sentenced, you'll go to Malmesbury. But if you go to Malmesbury, they can only give you a maximum sentence of 3 years. And they said in my sentencing thing that I'm a danger to all of the children in there, and that 3 years wasn't adequate. So I got an adult sentence.
Yeah.
But before that, when I first got arrested, I was remanded, and you can't go to Malmesbury on remand. So you have to go to adult jail, but then, yeah.
So you went to adult prison as a young offender?
Yeah.
Basically?
Yeah.
Yep. So back then, you sort of tick all the boxes for the typical characteristics of an offender: young, male, and born here.
Yep.
So you've got this sentence, and you've gone into the mainstream prison. And then what happened? You went where?
I went to the MAP for like a couple of weeks, and I went to the MRC and got put in the young offenders unit.
Yep. So what happens at the MAP?
I don't know. Everyone just goes there when you get locked up.
I believe that's where assessments take place. Is that correct?
Well, it's called the assessment prison.
So where did you get rated as a security B?
That's after my sentence.
Yep.
So when you're on remand, you're always an A.
Yep.
Like there's not a B or C. You can't be that. You're just A because you're
automatically A.
Yep.
Yep.
After I got sentenced, I think a week after or something like that, at the MRC, they call it Classo. I don't know what it's actually. I'm guessing that's short for classification now I think about it.
Yep.
So you go to the Classo thing, and then they give you a security rating.
And what sort of, like, how did you find that process?
I don't really remember.
You don't remember?
No.
No. So what was it like when you first arrived? How did you feel as a young person going into these jails?
All right. All right. Once I got there, yeah. So I got put in a cell with some guy that just come back from duty Lazarus. He threw it dirty. I got caught taking drugs or something, and I don't know. Just had a chat with him, and he sort of told me what to expect and all that shit.
And what do you expect?
I don't really remember. I just remember talking with him.
What would you say if you were that man now to a younger person?
Just don't get involved in everyone's shit, and you'll be pretty right. Don't
Okay.
take drugs.
Yeah.
Don't take drugs. Don't gamble, and don't get involved in people's shit.
So those three things that is then causes potential for conflict?
Yeah, if you don't know what you're doing, even if you do know what you're doing, yeah.
Yep.
Yep, that's how trouble starts.
Okay, I was going to ask you, you did mention it before, but I just wanted to ask you, you said before you had some drugs and you were going to spew.
Yeah.
How'd you get them?
I don't know. I got them off somewhere.
So are drugs easy to get?
Sometimes.
Are they
Sometimes they're not.
harder to get in, say, a maximum security than a minimum security?
No.
No.
Harder to get in the minimum security.
Right.
But alcohol was easier to get in the minimum security.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, people can just drop stuff off. But I think the minimum security, there's not as many drug takers, because if you get caught taking drugs, you get kicked out.
Yep.
And if you've been caught taking drugs, it's hard to get there.
But you still can get them.
Oh yeah, if you knew something, like if you could get somebody to bring them in, it's easy as.
But you could still actively go out and buy them in Darrenville.
Yeah, but
Just
not
not
very.
as
I was there for like
easy.
3 weeks, and it was only there for like a week.
Yeah.
Of it, yeah.
But
Yeah.
overall, is within the prison system, how easy are drugs to get for a prisoner?
Well, if they're there, reasonably easy. But sometimes, like, there might be times when there's no drugs because nobody could get them in that weekend or
So there are times where the prisons are drug free or close to drug free.
close to drug free. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still like pills and stuff, like people's medications.
Yeah.
There's always medications floating around.
And is there a market for those to sell?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think prison's a dangerous place?
For some people it would be.
Yep. How come?
What do you mean?
Well, you said some people. Why? Why only some people? Why not all?
Well, if you how do I say this? I guess if you play by the rules and you don't get involved in stuff and you're not a total peanut, you'll be fine.
So define a total peanut.
Somebody who's probably never been in trouble before and might think they're funny, but they don't really understand what's going on, or people that lag, like dob on other people. Yeah.
So for those people that dob, they can go to protection unit?
Yeah, they can.
Yeah, but not always?
Well, they might do it and not realise they're doing it, or not realise it's not on, and then they get belted. Like when we were at MRC, someone did and didn't realise it's not the right thing to do, and then I think his head got split open fairly badly.
And did you witness that?
I was sort of involved in it.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say,
there was like 7 of us, and we just sort of give him a little go each.
And do you think that behaviour is okay now?
Out here or in there?
In general, do you think that's still okay? In general speaking.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, no worries.
I think it's all right in that context.
So that's interesting in itself. So in jail, you're sort of saying that there's a bit of a culture that's different out here.
Yeah.
Can you explain that to me a bit?
What do you mean?
Well, you sort of just said, you did just say that it would be okay in there.
Yeah.
So what makes it okay in there and not okay out here?
Because there's different aims to life in there. Everyone's in there obviously because society doesn't feel they're good enough to be out in the world, and therefore, because you're all in there for breaking the rules and you all would have rather have gotten away with it, then why would you get someone else in trouble?
Okay. So does that extend to other kinds of things? Like you just giving an example of violence with the person that dobbed, for example. Does that lead on to other things, say, for instance, is sexual assault, is that given sort of turned a blind eye in there?
No.
No?
No.
Does that happen?
Sure it does, but it's not a common thing.
So if somebody were to do something to somebody else in there, it wouldn't be tolerated by the other prisoners?
Not usually.
Okay. That's interesting. When you were in prison, did you ever, did anybody there die of unexpected causes or,
Like, was anyone killed?
Well, yeah.
When I was at Bowen, Carl Williams was killed and got locked down for half a day.
And how did that affect you?
Didn't really. It was just helicopters flying around for a bit.
Yeah. So that didn't sort of generate a feeling of fear or anything across the prison?
No, it was probably more excitement, like there was something to talk about. Like all excitement, yeah. And then it sort of just died down and nobody really cared.
And then that was
and they took the bikes away actually after that.
In the gym?
No, well, the gyms were all in the units at Bowen. There's not a there's a dedicated like boxing gym where you can get gloves and there's boxing bags and stuff. But the actual weight equipment, there's a gym in each unit, and there was a bike in each unit. But then they took all the bikes away.
Okay. And how did the prisoners react to that?
No, it's sort of understandable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal.
So, in your opinion, do you think prison is a good investment? If I were to tell you that the average prisoner costs society $304 per day, on average, that's the latest stats that are out. What do you think that that's a good investment for taxpayers' money?
I think it's something that's needed, but it's overused.
Prison's overused?
Yep.
In what terms?
In what terms is it overused, or in what terms is it needed?
Are you saying that people are sentenced to jail too quickly, or how is it overused? In what context?
Well, it's not like, if the idea is to fix people, prison doesn't fix people. It doesn't make sense. It's not a sensible way to stop crime from happening.
Why not?
Because, well, if you want people to not be criminals, why would you put them with the other criminals into a culture where crime is acceptable and normal and normalized? And, like, say my friends steal things and that, like from shops.
Yeah.
And now I go to jail and meet a bunch of people in for armed robbery and make friends with them and go, well, fuck, that sounds all right. Or, and get into a culture where violence is acceptable and it's normal. And now you go home and people say stuff to you, and because you're used to people not saying those sort of things to you. And in jail, it would be like, now we fight. So now you fight.
Whereas out here, you don't.
Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about before with the culture of jail. There's certain things, obviously, that are acceptable in there that aren't here.
Yeah.
Okay. That sort of leads me in nicely. Part of this research that we've conducted, we've had a look at the Sentencing Act in Victoria, and there's 5 aims within the Sentencing Act that any sentence given down in the court is meant to fulfil 2 of these aims. And I just wanted to get your opinion or have a bit of discussion about each one of them. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've sort of touched on rehabilitation a little bit. So let's go with that one for a start. You said obviously you don't think that prison works in achieving that?
Not in a general sense.
Do you think that it's worked towards or promoted within jail at all? I mean, I understand they've got clinicians and...
Yeah, there's some programs, but it's not like say Marganet, they've got the violence programs and the drug programs.
Yeah.
But there's like 20 places at a time for 400 people or something. Doesn't like make much sense. And then what? Like you go do these programs and you didn't really want to do them in the first place. You're only doing them because you're made to do them. And then, yeah.
So basically saying that there is a little bit of a focus on it, but it's under resourced, and basically that's it. It's under resourced, and people don't want to do them anyway.
Yeah, people do, especially the people don't want to do them anyway. Like, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
how do you convince someone to do something they don't want to do?
yeah, well, that's exactly right. So, because you were in there for violence, were you classed as a violent offender?
Yeah.
And did you complete programs for violence?
Yeah, I had to do the high intensity violence course, which goes for like 6 months.
And did you complete that successfully?
Yeah.
And do you think it helped you at all then?
It probably helped a little bit when I did want to change, but at that point I didn't really, so it didn't help straight away.
Do you think it's helped you anything long term?
Yeah, I reckon it's helped a little bit long term.
All right, well, that's positive. That's good.
Yeah.
So back to the other point, do you think many prisoners, from your experience, because obviously you've come in contact with a lot of them over your time, do you think that many prisoners actually want to rehabilitate, or is it just really a matter of these programs getting pushed in your face and you need to do them?
I think a lot of people do want to, but you're like stuck in a cycle that, well, even if like let's just make up a story sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you want to get out and do the right thing and everything, and then you do get out and you don't know how to really function. You've been in jail for a couple of years. You're not used to having conversations with normal people. You're used to sort of, swearing a lot, and subject matters usually revolve around crime and sex and whatever. And then you're also not that skilled. So you come out of jail and then you like want to live a good life and you have this big idea, things don't really work out for you. And then you're like, oh, fuck it, I'll just do some shit and get some money up and then worry about it later. And then you start just running around in the same circle again.
So you're saying that maybe some prisoners do want to rehabilitate, but it's going to take more than programs because there's a lot more to it? Or...
Yep. I think most do. Most don't. Like most people, especially while you're in jail, you don't want to be in jail. It's not somewhere that you're like, yeah, this is the place I want to be. Everyone's always talking about what they're going to do when they get out, and then and how they're not going to get in trouble again. But then they get out and they just start doing the same stuff.
Yeah, and you think, why do you think that is?
Well, what else are you meant to do?
And is that part of that? Is that around, like some people come out to have no housing, some people.
Yeah, and also like you haven't got, like if I go to get a job and my resume says my last job was 5 years ago, and the employer goes, what have you been doing for the last 5 years? How do you get a job when you haven't had a job for 5 years?
Yeah.
You don't have any references, and then if you do get a job, it might be shit, and you get paid bugger all, and then you're like, well, what's the point of even working?
So yeah, it's a pretty vicious cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you, I guess my overall question there, bearing all that in mind, is do you think prison is effective in rehabilitation?
No.
Alright. So then we've got, well, we'll go with retribution. So retribution's about people serving proportionate sentences to their crime.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't give any concrete answers here, but in your opinion, do you think people in jail are generally serving sentences that they deserve in accordance with the crime they've committed? Or do you think people are serving excessive sentences compared to the crime they committed? Or do you think they're serving less time than they should?
Oh, it's a mixture.
There's a bit of a mix, yeah.
Yep.
I think that one would be pretty hard to assess, but just based on the conversations you've had with people over the years that you were in there.
It doesn't seem to be sensible. Like there's not, you can't really say yes or no because some people are excessive, some people are not, and it seems like two people do the same thing and get different sentences.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that's okay. That's a good answer. So then we've got deterrence. That's another aim of the Act. So deterrence is the individual.
I think.
But also it's the community. So deterrence is a two-pronged kind of thing. They're aiming to deter you, but also deter the wider community from offending in a similar way that you did, so that hopefully they don't want to go to jail either.
That would only work for people that haven't been to jail.
Why?
Because once you've been and gotten used to it, unless you did a small sentence, maybe it would work. But like me, do 2.5 years, it's like I'm used to it anyway.
But you didn't go back.
Because I wanted more than that. So
if I say to you that about 45% of people that have went to prison got out of prison in 2014 to 2015 in Victoria, within 2 years they were straight back in, would that surprise you?
I would have thought it'd been more.
Okay. So do you think it would be effective in deterring the community?
Yeah, I reckon probably.
So
Well, you know, it's the fear of the unknown.
Yeah. So do you think the prison itself causes those figures of people coming back through our door?
It definitely doesn't stop them not coming back. I don't know if it causes it.
Yep. It doesn't stop it.
Yep.
Okay, so then we've got incapacitation.
Yep.
So obviously that's taking the offender out of the community.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, obviously we achieves that in a sense. What about the safety within jail? What about safety of prisoners? Because part of incapacitation is to protect the community
Mm-hmm.
from the offender.
Yeah.
Now the Act doesn't actually define which community.
Yeah.
It just says protect the community. So we're taking, for instance,
So you're taking people out of one community and putting them into another.
Yeah. So do you think that the prison population is protected from each other?
I don't know.
Is it a safe place?
Sort of.
Well, you've just told me that you even participated in harm in jail. Yeah. There was at least one murder while you were there.
Yeah.
So how do those things happen if the environment is safe for all?
Well, there's a lot more murders outside of jail than inside of jail.
But I guess because jail, you're in a place that's, it's got iron bars and walls, high fences, and you're segregated into this area, which is the jail. I think that, the community would think that people should be reasonably safe in there, getting monitored and watched. Whereas, out here, I could just walk down the street right now and kill somebody if I wanted to.
Yeah, you can do that anywhere. That can be done in jail too.
So, do you think that prisoners are safe in jail, though?
Sort of, I guess.
So, to an extent.
Yeah.
So then, in terms of what I've said, do you think that prison achieves incapacitation in the sense of taking the offender out of the community, but also protecting the community?
No, sort of. What happens when they come back out? That's more like a pause button.
So yeah, it does it for a period of time.
Yeah.
And then they get back out, and you're saying that rehabilitation isn't working. So you're essentially putting the same person back into the community that you took away from the community?
Potentially, but they might be like more dried out from drugs and that sort of thing. So let's say you got someone who's real cooked from drugs and they go to jail for a year and dry out and, still get on drugs if they want to, but obviously they're not going to have as much and not be as bad. And then they might come out not as bad, but then they could get worse, I guess.
Because you were saying before about that cycle, trying to fit back in.
Yeah.
And so if people have already gone in with drug issues, one way to sort of escape the pressure from that cycle might be to use again, which could then lead to offending.
Yeah.
So is your answer you don't know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, no problem. And the fifth one's denunciation. So that's just about basically a public condemnation that, your behaviour's not right. So I guess my only question with that one is that did you feel that you had, when you went to jail or even juvenile detention, I guess, did you feel a sense that you had done the wrong thing?
No.
Okay, thank you for that. That's interesting. So I guess I just wanted to ask you, did you actually complete the parole?
Yeah.
And you've spoken about some of the challenges that people face. Did you find it difficult?
Yeah.
And what were some of the things that helped you complete it? What were some of the things that helped you be successful in that?
Luck, partly. I also did schooling and started working towards some stuff and setting goals, which helped. But at first I was running amok and probably doing worse crimes than I'd ever done, like more consistently. But I didn't get caught, so that's where the luck comes into it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So do you think that prison impacted that?
Yep.
You offending worse?
Yep.
How?
After I got out, I was sort of not adjusted very well, and I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. Like people didn't really understand me, and I couldn't really get a conversation in properly, if that makes sense. Like, couldn't find mutual ground between people. And then the people that I did have mutual ground with were all committing crimes, and I was committing crimes, and we sort of did it together.
So why did you stop offending? Where was this line in the sand when you went, this is not me?
I don't know. I can't remember. There wasn't really a line in the sand. It was sort of like just a progression, I reckon. But
maybe, do you think like with your schooling and whatever, like maybe there was more positive stuff in your life?
Yeah.
Than maybe once upon a time?
Yeah. And I made some friends out of that too that like had never been in trouble.
out of your schooling.
Yep.
Yep. So you've made new social circles.
Yep.
And kept taking drugs or not?
For a while.
A
Yeah.
little while. Yep.
Yep.
So what is, like, it's me sitting here listening to this. You've come a long way. You said at the very start you're a manager for a small business.
Yeah.
And you've got some property or whatever.
Yeah.
That sounds like a big jump from an 18-year-old serving 2.5 years in prison for a violent crime.
Yeah, I don't know anyone else that's doing the same thing.
Do you have contact with anybody that you met in prison?
Yes.
And how are those guys doing?
One's doing reasonably well. He's just had another daughter, and he's kicking along. He's been out for the longest he's ever been out for now, which is good. I think that's like 2.5 years.
Yep.
But most of the rest are back in jail, or they have gone back at least anyway, if they're not now.
And do you think you'll ever go back to prison again?
I don't think so, but you never know.
Well, I hope you don't.
Yeah, well, me too.
So,
but if I have to, I will, but I don't think I will have to. I try and avoid situations that will lead to anything that goes down that path.
So, yeah, you don't, if you're actively avoiding those situations, obviously you don't want to go.
No, I don't want to go.
No.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got one last question, the ultimate question, which is the question we've been researching for the last few weeks or so. In your opinion, what is prison for?
What's prison for?
What is prison for?
That's a good question.
What is it for?
I'll tell you what people think it's for.
I'd like to know what you think it's for.
Maybe arrest. It's probably the only answer I've got, just arrest.
Arrest from?
Life.
And what, then you just said, you know what people think it's for. What, in your opinion, is that?
To get the scum out of the earth is what people think it's for.
And what do you think about that statement?
And it's pretty shit. That's what I think.
So, have you got any more to add to your comment about it being for arrest?
If life gets too full on, you could just go to jail.
And do you think that that's realistic for some people?
Yeah.
They don't find any other escape or way to fix their issues?
Well, it doesn't even fix their issues. It just puts it away so you don't have to deal with it till next time you get out.
And from a society level, what do you think it's for? What role do you think it plays in society? Because that's kind of an individual perspective.
What role?
What is it for arrest? That's kind of the individual, yeah.
Well,
so,
I think from a society point of view, it would be well, there's rules in society that need to be followed so there's order. And from a society point of view, there needs to be some sort of consequences when the rules aren't followed, otherwise there would be disorder. That's society's way of telling you that, or telling whoever the person is or the community at large, that this isn't how society should be functioning.
Which comes
otherwise,
back to that denunciation stuff.
Yeah, otherwise we'd end up with the same sort of things that, like, the countries that have lots of real bad problems, like in Africa and the Middle East and stuff, where people just get their heads chopped off and in the street and all that sort of thing, and it's like survival of the strongest or fittest. Like, does that make sense? Like, it does play a part.
Yeah.
And, like, we don't have the death sentence and stuff, so we can't just kill the people that aren't conforming. That's probably it. Like, from a punitive sense, it would be the role it plays in society.
And does that work?
Well, if that's the thing that makes it work, then it does, because we live in a pretty good country.
Yeah.
So in one aspect it works. It doesn't work very well for the prisoner.
Yeah, okay.
But I think probably for society it seems to work. But I think it could be improved vastly.
You look like you've got something else to say.
No.
No. Okay. Well, that's it. I just wanted to finish on the ultimate question, the big topic.
Oh, okay. It's a good question, though.
Yes. So, thank you for your time.
No worries. Thank you. See ya.
Bye.